We got a facilities guy here. He knows his stuff. It's Sally Book troubleshooting. What was the problem, and how did you go about kind of getting to the end of it?
Yeah, sure. We'd talk about troubleshooting. So this was actually my introduction to the Permian Basin, actually. So in the first few months of my role coming out here to support the basin.
So many years ago.
Many years ago. Yeah. So we had a facility that was running, a central facility that was running about half of our total Permian production through it. So it was a key facility for us. And we knew we had some flaring issues that were going on, but honestly, it wasn't that big a deal. Back in kind of 2016 time frame, it was flaring. We didn't want it, but it was not that big a deal until about November of that year. We got word from our regulatory folks that we were right on the verge of going over our permit, and the government was basically right on the verge of shutting us down because we were emitting too much at that point. Probably 6 weeks away at the current rate that we were going, and this was coming into Thanksgiving time frame, so just coming into the holidays, which was obviously not.
So they would have shut you down outright, and that means no more production, correct?
No more production until kind of things settled down. The clock would reset eventually, but yeah, we'd be talking about months of taking half our production offline at that point. So this was obviously not great. So we panicked, as you know, one might be inclined to do. Panic, try to figure out what was going on, why we were flaring, all this stuff. What we found out was that we weren't paying that much attention to our gas quality, which is really important. That your gas is such that your midstream company will take it because they've got to sell it downstream, and so there's all the contractual requirements.
They want the good stuff, right?
Exactly. So we had too much oxygen in our stream, and so we tried to do some troubleshooting. Couldn't quite figure it out until we got to about the middle of December, getting toward Christmas holiday, and we were in an ops call at that point, where my boss, the ops manager, said, I'm going on vacation, but this needs to get solved. And so, David, you're the one. You're on point on this. Solve this by the time I get back.
I have faith in you.
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect.
So we went back. Me and my team went back and did a lot more in-depth troubleshooting, to try to figure out where this oxygen was coming from. And honestly, it was really hard to chase down. If anybody's ever worked with oxygen, any leak in your thief hatches, any sort of leak in your vapor recovery units, anything can suck oxygen in just enough, because those limits that
and I don't think a lot of layman people or people upstream really realize how big of a problem oxygen is. Like, they assume, coming down from downhole, there isn't any, so it's not going to be in the pipelines or anything. But it's not that simple, is it?
It's not that simple. As soon as you get to the surface, you start getting stuff. And we found two main sources of that. For us, it was the trucking. So whenever we offloaded oil from one tank to another tank through a truck, it is impossible to keep air out of those situations completely. We try to keep it out for the most part, so we stay out of any sort of explosive situation, but getting that ppm, parts per million level of oxygen out is impossible.
And as a guy, just curious myself, having the oxygen in the system is bad. It leads to corrosion, right? And possible, it can ignite, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. You get too much in there, obviously you get into explosive atmosphere, and so that's not what you want. At a lower level, you get into the corrosion elements. So oxygen-induced corrosion is extremely aggressive and can really destroy your pipes, destroy your tanks, destroy everything that you've got. And then even at a lower levels, the folks way downstream in the gas processing plants, when they're doing their catalytic work to clean up the gas and do the gas processing they need to do, that oxygen can destroy those catalysts. So that's actually at the lowest level. That's what defines that low level of oxygen.
So we got the problem, we got the man to solve it. What was the solution?
So when we looked at that, it was really expensive, like I said, to keep oxygen out of our tanks, to keep it out of our trucks entirely. We could do that. There are technical solutions with gas blanketing and venting and return lines and all this stuff that you could do, but you put yourself out of business if you just did that to get it all the way down to that lowest level. So what any good troubleshooter does is, if what you've got doesn't work, then you go and get a bigger hammer or a bigger wrench or whatever you need to do.
Been known to happen.
And you hit it harder, right? And what we did was we went out to the market to find a technology, and there was a company called EcoVapor, small technology company at the time, that sold an oxygen destruction technology. And so what we did in the end was we put that at the end of our pipe right before our sales. They've got a catalytic process that takes care of the oxygen, eliminates it, and so that was a small price to pay for us to be able to keep producing. Just hit it with a big hammer at the end. We couldn't stop it at the beginning. I'd love to, as an engineer, I'd love to go to the root cause and
seal it.
Just get it perfect. Turns out that the real world is not like my process models, so
But
Oh, well.
I think it's pretty ingenious that you, instead of trying to stop it from coming in, you got it out before where it really needed to be. So that's, you know, a lot of people would have been scratching their heads, stopping it from the tank, stopping it from the trucking, and you know, I have seen that little skid that they have on location a few times in another life. So it's pretty neat little technology. It does something with palladium or something. Isn't that one of the
Yeah, they got
kind
noble
of?
metal catalysts in there. They won't tell us what's exactly in there, of course.
Of course
that's what we're
not.
paying them for. But
Shout out to
works
them, you
real
know,
well.
EcoVapor. I'm sure they appreciate you mentioning them and stuff. So
absolutely, yeah, they've done good work for us because we've installed their units at a number of other facilities to address exactly the same issue as we continue to develop.
And isn't that kind of the way a lot of this goes? Is that you open-minded, you find a solution to one problem in one place, and it turns out you can apply that same method in a lot of others.